Alchemist Nation podcast is a tool that you can use to leverage new relationships who are smarter, richer, more successful. Over the last year, I've done over 130 podcasts with people who are extremely successful and talented in their niche. I've had to stretch, I've had to reach, I've done painfully embarrassing things to get those people on the podcast and then to hang out with them, feeling completely unworthy of hanging out with people who are 10x millionaires, more than what I've got, people who have $100 million worth of assets. In fact, even on the 100 Millionaires podcast, if you go back to, I think it's episode 5 or 6, me and Mike Shine interview Brendan Kane, who owns Peregrine Group in Rhode Island. And they own the Newport Yachting Center. They own 400 units in Boston. These guys are friends of mine, personal friends of mine. They ask me for their real estate specific questions in the small residential area. By the way, they look at me as the small residential guy. Fuck, I made it. In my head, I'm like, I made it. And to them, they're like, he's the realtor. He's the realtor who's always on all the videos. But they trust me. They like me. They've paid for cigars. They brought me out a couple times. And we've been at concerts together, right? Now, not sitting together, but we showed up at concerts together, and we can talk about those concerts later on. We went to see Slipknot. We went to see Korn together. And I see it that way. In my head, I'm like, I know they're right there. So like you do some things that you may feel like embarrassed, right? Even admitting it to you, my community, I'm like, yeah, I did that. Like I've gone to those concerts knowing that I would be telling them in the creepiest way possible that I was also there. So that we can have that relationship, so we can build that rapport. Same with the Alchemist Nation podcast, which if you haven't listened to it, the last 20 to 30 episodes were all syndications. It was all big real estate investors. And I asked them how they got started. I asked them why they do syndication, what their incomes are, what their units are. I ask all the uncomfortable questions that you could never ask your friends. And yet I'm asking these high income earners on a podcast that is recorded and syndicated, and they're willing to answer those questions. You let them be there. You let them hang out with you that way. Like you let them have conversations that are not inspiring you or moving you or motivating you. That you're the common denominator in your friend circle. Whose friend circle? Yours. That's right. You control that circle. And if you don't control it, it will control you. Get excited about new friends. Get comfortable with the idea of hanging out with new friends. When I first met Mitch Durfee, I was like intimidated by his badass trailer and his Facebook and all of his followers. And I was like, oh, damn, this guy's better than me. He has this big company, this junk removal company. He owns multiple spots. He's doing franchising. I was intimidated by him. When I first met Mitch Jorsky, I was like, holy shit, this guy's, 100 feet tall. And he's into crypto. He's so smart. He was a stock trader. I always wanted to be a stock trader. And he actually did it for the hedge funds. And, he's written all these books. I'm like, I haven't written books yet. This guy's so badass. He's on a whole other level. But something inside of me is insane. I've been called a psychopath. My brother used to call me a psycho. He's like, dude, you're psychotic. The way you think and the way you operate, the only thing that can make sense of it is you're psychotic. And now I'm embracing it. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I am a little crazy. But I believe that I could be friends with people who I aspire to. I genuinely believe that I could be friends with people who I admire and I look up to and I think are really impressive. Same with Mike Shine. First time I met Mike, he was this big shot, this attorney all suited up. Everybody's around him asking him legal questions, admiring him, saying, wow, this guy's so smart. Look at him. He's an attorney. He owns real estate. The only freaking attorney. He's a freaking genius. Let me just state that. He's the only attorney at these events. A freaking genius. I admired that. And I felt insecure around Mike. I felt so small. And I went over there with my big chest puffed out. I was like, hello, sir. I've got this event I'm doing. Maybe you'd be interested in coming. And he did. Because I'm a little crazy. I believe that I could be valuable to people who I perceive as valuable. I believe that some way, somehow, I could add value to these people who I believe at the time are way above me. You can add value to people. When I met my mentor, he owns over $20 million of real estate. I saw him. I recognized that I knew nothing on the level that he knew. And he smoked cigars. I didn't smoke cigars. He drank a lot. I didn't drink at all. And he hung out and smoked cigars and drank all day. And I said, I could figure this out to spend time with him. And the first time I spent time with him, he made fun of me the entire time. Just called me like this young kid who wants to, learn real estate. You don't know what you're talking about. This is all, all the guru, like shit talked the entire time. My ego said, I'm never coming back. My ego said, I'm never coming back. This is the worst experience of my life. This was a bad idea. But something inside of me says, don't be a little bitch. You're going to put up with this until he's your best friend. He doesn't know yet, but you're a monster. You're going to be the biggest investor, biggest landlord in this city, and you are going to prove to him that you can be an amazing friend. And so months of putting up with this crazy relationship of this guy doesn't want me around, right? Doesn't want me around, but for some reason he shows up at the cigar shop every single day. And I end up finding a way to get over to where he's at and talk to him and spend time there. And now when he's in trouble, he reached out to me and said, hey, can you help me out? He asked me about stocks because he doesn't have any knowledge or information about stocks. And he asked me about crypto because he doesn't have any knowledge or information about crypto. And the tables have turned where now I'm able to add value to him. And I knew I would. 4 years ago, when I started hanging out with him, it was a very uncomfortable situation for me. Very uncomfortable. It was one of the worst things I ever did. And yet I still cared about this guy because he was who I wanted to be one day. And so I found a way to fall in love with him and say, you know what, I want to serve him. Even if he doesn't want me here, I'm going to find a way to do it. And eventually I did. And it's been a great relationship. And I've learned so much from him. And now I've added so much value to his life. I'm telling you, the thing that makes you successful is the relationships. It's absolutely insane how gurus will travel around the country teaching the technical side of real estate when all I have to do is actually teach you how to find the right relationships and then go build those relationships. And yet they spend no time on that. If you want to increase your income, say, I build people every day. I build people. I build people. I say I build millionaires. Made that my affirmation, building 100 millionaires. So I made it very niche-y. I build successful people. I build people in financial departments. Does that mean that I wouldn't help somebody with their relationship? No, of course. I build people, right? If I got to build a millionaire, then they need good relationships. It's part of the process. There's these compartments in your mind that you cannot separate. Understand that they exist. Your relationships, your body, and your ego, your money, your finances. Those three pieces need to be in good health. And they can be in good health by simply focusing on who, not how. Who has great health, who has great relationships, and who has great money. Spend more time with them. This is the code to friendships. This is the code to friendships. When I was scrawny and weak and I wanted to become a bodybuilder, I wanted to become sexy and strong, I went into the gym, I looked at the biggest dudes, and I was like, hey, how'd you get there? And they would always tell me, show up at 5 o'clock in the morning, show up at 6 o'clock in the morning, show up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And because I asked, they showed me. I looked at my coach and I said, man, this guy's got 6 kids and him and his wife are so supportive. They show up to all their events together. They work together. They support each other. That's the coach I want, because not only is he successful in his business, but he's got an amazing relationship with his wife.